Turning now to Apple, the iPhone maker searching for new ways to drive revenue growth is expanding its presence in healthcare. New functions planned for iPhone's HealthKit app would make it more like a diagnostic tool than simply a fitness tracker. Through recent health tech acquisitions, Apple has assembled a team of experts working on two problems plaguing the healthcare industry: transferring data safely from one hospital to another and helping doctors analyze mountains of data about their patients. Joining me now to discuss these developments and explain what it could mean for Apple's bottom line, our Bloomberg News reporter Alex Webb, who covers Apple for us. So first of all, what could it mean for the bottom line?
Well, for the bottom line, we don't yet know if they will monetize this thing directly. But if you have an iPhone and you've got all your music in your iPhone, you know that it doesn't give you much incentive to switch to an Android. And it's probably a similar logic behind this. If you've got all of your health data stored in your iPhone, it makes it very hard, or increasingly difficult at least, to abandon your iPhone and go for another operator.
So talk about how Apple is expanding what HealthKit can do.
Well, at the moment, HealthKit is basically the place where you store your step data. And if you've got a watch, then maybe your heart rate data as well. What it wants to make of the app is a repository for all of your health information. Now, it might be that you have other wearables. If you're a diabetic, you might have a glucometer. If you've got high blood pressure, you might have a blood pressure monitor. They want all that information to feed into your phone. Not only that, but they made an acquisition a little while ago, which helps them pull data from loads of different hospitals. And now, putting all that stuff into your phone is all well and good, and having step data is all well and good. But if you present that to a healthcare professional, quite often the response is going to be, well, what do you want me to do with this? You know, it's a huge amount of information. It doesn't tell you what it means, and that's the direction they're pushing towards.
So the other question is, can they turn this into a lucrative business? Just like iTunes and building that on the iPod, will the same happen for HealthKit built on the watch?
There was an interesting analogy that we happened across this acquisition that Apple did, a company called Glimpse, spelled with a double I. We found an engineer who had put on his Facebook that their vision for healthcare was similar to the iPod. Now, of course, what happened with the iPod, they put a music playing device in your hands, and from that, they built a whole music business, which was, of course, in iTunes itself. Now, the analogy then you infer from that is that the watch and the phone might be taking step data, and that makes you used to like having all your health information stored on the devices. And then they layer on levels of complexity on top of that in terms of the information that's stored in there. So
they now also have a partnership with AETNA. AETNA is subsidizing the watch. What opportunities does that open up?
Well, the thing that's really interesting, I think, about this AETNA deal, AETNA said that it's going to subsidize the watch or give the watch away to its employees and subsidize it to some customers to begin with. We don't yet know the scale of that. They have 23 million customers in the US. Policyholders, it's probably not going to be all 23 million. It might be a few thousand to begin with. Now, the big question has always been with the Apple Watch, how are they going to break the delta of selling 50 million units? Is it ever going to be a 50 million unit device? A lot of people are very skeptical about that because it's $300 for a watch. Now, that usually would be something which is for life, and this is going to last a few generations. Now, what the AETNA thing implies, if health insurers are incentivizing their policyholders to have this stuff, it makes it likely or increases the possibility that they will be selling a lot of these devices in order to incentivize people to reduce their exposure.
So we believe they sold 1.6 million watches last
quarter.
quarter.
The IDC estimate, yeah.
According to IDC. So how much of a sales bump could we see as a result of this AETNA partnership?
In the short term, I don't think it's going to be colossal, but it hints at if it proves to be successful with AETNA, then we might see then other insurers doing a similar thing, and then you'll really start to look at some big numbers.